Are you connected to your intuition, or are you ignoring that inner voice that's trying to help guide you through life? Today, we're going to do a little bit more deeper work about what is our intuition, different avenues that our intuition will try to speak to us in, and why it's even important to connect to our intuition and how to do that, okay? First, intuition can be your inner self, it can be the Most High or God trying to speak to you. And this is through different ways. One is through our body. Many people think of intuition as just a gut feeling, but there are so many ways that God and our intuition will try to speak to us. Through the body, that can be through symptoms, through pain, through disease, okay, and even also positive bodily symptoms and things like that. So, when we feel pain, usually we just try to brush it under the rug, keep moving, or cover it up with pain medications. But that does not get to the root of the problem. Our bodies are trying to speak to us, and our body, mind, and soul are all interconnected. So sometimes we have pain and bodily symptoms from an emotional issue, from a mental issue that is now impacting our bodies. And if we're not able to listen to that inner voice, listen to that guidance, then we will just keep repeating and the pain will keep resurfacing. Okay, another way our body speaks to us through intuition is, say if you're in like a situation or you're around a certain person and you notice your body always gets tense, your breathing starts to go up, or you just have this feeling of nausea around a certain person. That is your body and your intuition and your inner voice speaking to you, okay? Do not ignore that. Sometimes we ignore it because we don't know the difference between fear and intuition, limited thinking and intuition, and that inner voice. So we'll go deeper into that later in this video. So that's one way the body will speak to you. Next is through the mind, okay? Sometimes we literally will have thoughts pop into our mind and we're like, wait, that didn't really sound like me, or where did that thought come from? Like, you'll hear, put on your seatbelt, or don't go down that street. And then you're like, wait, what? And sometimes we just ignore that because we're not connected to our bodies. We're not connected spiritually, okay? But I've had this happen to a lot of people, myself included. And you put that seatbelt on, and then 10 seconds later, there's an accident, or you hit something, or you have to swerve out of the way. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I listened to that inner voice. Another way our intuition or the Most High will try to speak to us is through repeated experiences or patterns that show up in our life. This one is disregarded so much because we just look at it as something that's happening in our life, something out of our control. But these repeated patterns are happening for a reason. It's something you need to look at in your own self, in your own thinking, your body, mind, and soul, that needs to be altered so that you can stop this pattern from repeating itself, okay? Um, Another way is through divine intervention. Actually, no, let's go with other people. So it can be through me, through somebody else, that you hear something, and sometimes it sparks like a trigger in us, or we get upset because somebody says something, but we know deep down it's because it's something that we need to look at and something we need to work on. So that is also how our intuition will speak to us. God will send people into your life to help spark that change, okay? And the last one is divine intervention. This can happen when it's something that's very urgent, immediate, or you've ignored every other sign, and God's like, let me just throw her a bone, okay? That can be like, sometimes we look at it as a negative thing, or like we might wake up and our car needs a jump, and then, but that's divine intervention, intuition, divine protection, protecting us from an accident that happened on the freeway, or we miss our flight and something happens. There's a hurricane in the place we were going. You know, those are also ways that we get those divine whispers and intuition, and being able to say, like, When you're connected, you'll say, okay, I know this happened for a reason. I'm being protected from something. And that is your intuition speaking to you. Now, let's get to the juicy part. How do we connect to this intuition? How do we strengthen our connection to know whether it's intuition or inner voice, or is it that inner critic, that fear, that limited thinking that's telling us these things? Because sometimes it's hard to know the difference. Number one, as women, being connected to your womb space, your sacral chakra, your creative center, all of those things in different cultures and spiritual practices, the womb is highly regarded. Now, don't get me wrong, men and women have their strengths, okay? That's the yin and yang, the duality of life. But women usually have a different type of intuition and spiritual connection to that inner voice. That is why being connected, men don't have a womb, men don't give birth, men don't hold and create and birth life, okay? That is why we have something a little different. When you connect to your womb, that ancestral power, that divine feminine wisdom, you will be able to hear your intuition and that inner voice a lot clearer. That is why I created the Womb Wisdom Reset, to cleanse, detox her, to listen to your womb's voice, okay? Another way that's more general is through detox. Now, when we think of detox, we normally think of just like a physical detox, but that could be detoxing friends, detoxing our life, habits that are unhealthy for us. So, all of those ways are ways that we can detox, okay? And when we food is energy. Everything is energy. So when we have low vibrational things around us, that clouds our judgment. That suppresses that voice and pushes it down. But when we are light, when we are free and cleansed, that voice is so much clearer. We don't have all these weird frequencies messing up what we're trying to hear, okay? So detox, connection to the womb space, water. Water is an emotional stabilizer. Okay, there's so many cultural, spiritual practices that talk about water. That's why we baptize. That's why people love being in the water, the ocean. When we drink water, it cleanses us. Taking spiritual baths, using water as a form of cleansing and what's the word I'm looking for? Like connectivity, okay? That it'll help us connect to that inner voice and to the divine. There's so many ways to use water to do this. Natural elements, okay? All things that God put here for us, for our benefit. Last one, being still, meditating, praying. Sometimes we have too much outside noise. Take the time to be able to listen. If you don't sit down and pray and meditate and you're always moving, you're always listening, you're always on the go, you're always got something in your ear, taking up your brain space, how are you going to hear? So take some time, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, to pray, to meditate, and to think and ask the questions that you need the answers to, and listen. Hopefully this helps somebody. If you want to do deeper, more intense inner work around this for your mind, body, and soul, check out the link in my bio. Check out the Womb Wisdom Reset or the one-on-one coaching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.